the very end when Vel is at Masasi
Vel's at
with all the new
Masasi
recruits,
already.
and she picked a gun. And she's like, "Who belongs to this?" Which I thought was a really cool for way to phrase it. I didn't
Yeah.
know what the emblem on it was, and then a guy said it was his. Was that just a Rogue One Easter egg, or is that a Gorman guy?
That's oh my god, I can't believe you forgot about Melchi, the most important character in all of Rogue One and everything, I
Okay, so it
guess.
was just a Rogue One thing.
It is, yeah. He's in Rogue One, but he's also on Narkina 5 with Cassian. He escapes
Oh,
with
that guy.
Cassian.
Okay, all these
Yeah.
faces are familiar. I'm just so
Yeah.
bad with names. So
Well, like it was very satisfying for me and my friend Halden, who like overly analyzed the first season and watch it. And I love Rogue One. When Melshi turned up in Andor, I was so excited because I loved him in Rogue One. He's one of the Pathfinders that rescues Jin, and then he's also on Scarif leading charge.
okay,
Um,
I knew he was somebody. I mean, obviously the way the scene was shot, but I also recognize his face. But I couldn't place him.
and what's important about that blaster and what's kind of interesting about it is that it's Cyril's blaster from the first season. So Cassian, when Cassian and Luthen get the drop on Cyril, they take his blaster, and then
Yes.
Cassian
Okay.
has that blaster on Aldani, and like they even make a comment about it. Then so when and Vel asks Skeen to look through Cassian's stuff, and Skeen points out the Corpo blaster, and they talk about it, and then the blaster shows up again on Niamos, and after they escape from Narkina 5, Cassian gives Melshi the blaster. So you track it throughout the season,
Yeah.
which is really
Well,
cool.
that makes
And
that scene so much better because, like,
yeah.
I obviously it was important the way it was shot. If you've seen a movie ever, you know that's important.
Well, it's so
Um,
cool to end on that is the thing that Cyril leaves for the rest of the series is that his blaster is being used by a rebel to fight the Empire,
and a
you
rebel
know?
who does damage, like with Scarif and rescuing
Yeah.
Jyn Erso and all that. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
having it track that way is so cool. Involving Bale, which we should talk about that too, because last
Yeah.
time I was not too thrilled with the recast. And obviously I wish Jimmy Smits got to do it after all this time just for cohesiveness. But Benjamin Bratt did a really good job. I just felt like it was a lot of different energies, but that might just be the material.
I think I didn't feel that, but I'm curious as to what you mean, like different energies in like
Well, like Jimmy Spitz, Bail Organa,
oh
even at
yeah.
the end of Revenge of the Sith, when everything just fell apart, he has kind of a safe presence about him. Like he's a big, commanding guy, but also kind of soft. So when he's talking, even in times of tragedy, you're like, things might be okay. So I don't know if I was reading Benjamin Bratt's performance as not that just because he's not that. He's not Jimmy Smits, or because like things aren't going to be okay. They slaughtered an entire planet and they took over our government. Like we're done here.
I think it's that more than anything. I think also and it's good on a couple levels like this show is, where you have he's definitely sure shaken by the massacre on Gorman, which also shows that he doesn't want to go away from doesn't want to leave because he doesn't want to we know the reason why they want to leave with Mothma is because of Leia, but also the show reads like he doesn't want to leave because he doesn't want to see his planet massacred either.
Yeah.
Like that's the big thing in that moment is that he is shaken because he didn't see the empire being this atrocious like to like actual citizens. And I bet he's also like getting flashbacks to Order 66 and maybe reliving that moment where it's like, oh no, it's happening again. They're slaughtering a whole, like they're doing a genocide again.
Yeah.
Like they're like that's I bet he's also like I have to keep. I think his always his instinct is like with like Order 66 is just to dig in deeper and to hide himself so that he doesn't lose
Hiding in
everything.
plain sight. Right.
Yeah.
Which kind
So
of what Mothma did for a while, and the last arc that we talked about last time really built this up. I don't think we mentioned this, but there was a whole thing where Mothma was going around and kind of like canvassing for support
yeah.
and really trying to make the system work. And everyone she talks to is just like, no, I'm not getting involved in this. No way.
Yeah, and now she's realizing that the system has failed and there's no way of fighting
Yeah,
it from the inside.
I
Um,
wonder if there's going to be bad fallout for Perrin and Leda now.
That's the big thing. That was another part that got me emotional when Cassian is driving away with Mon Mothma. She looks out over the city and she's definitely looking towards the Senate building, but she's looking beyond that. Like I'm guessing looking out towards Perrin and Lita and
Really,
all the people
everything she
there.
knows.
Everything she knows is
And she was
going
a
now.
senator since her late teens, early 20s. She's been a senator for 2 decades. Like, she's leaving
Yeah.
it all. If you're getting value or entertainment out of any of my transmissions, it would mean a lot if you would join the Remnant and subscribe.
You know, the Force healer says, you're here for a reason. You're gathering people for some greater cause. And then Bix says the same thing. She's like, I feel it too. You're not just, you know, fighting this rebellion. You're here for a purpose. And then Luthen, this like jaded, you know, practical person says, it's kind of weird that you've been at all these like very important things for the rebellion. And it's leading up to this moment. And it felt like the most meta Star Wars has ever gotten. Like, you know, like where it's like everybody wakes up and realizes, oh no, we're in a Star War. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
like this isn't gonna end well for a lot of us, but including Cassian, you know, like but it was a cool moment to in that like it doesn't spell it out. It's all very subtle, but the music is playing. Mothma is like in the place that Andor has been, but they're both about to cross the threshold into this new era of the rebellion together. It's brilliant.
It is, and I do want to talk about the Force Healer a little bit more. I mean, I know it's not as profound and powerful as everything we were talking about, but like you were just saying, it is kind of like the Oracle setting the hero on the right path, which probably is a huge why Bix leaves, because she's not like, she knows that is his destiny because she is the believer and him not so much, but it also sets him up to be the believer with Jin and the Kyber crystals and Chirrut and all these other things that are, they're all nudges in the right direction without it being so explicitly magic. And I know we talked about the Force not really being part of the show, and even in Rogue One, it's like it's there, but you could also make an argument that it's not. But because you know it's literal and real, it's obviously there. And I thought that with this Force healer, where it was done in such a way where maybe it's just a woman who's trying to be kind to people and it's like chakras and crystals or whatever, like in our world, that you can believe it or you cannot. It's kind of whatever. Maybe it works for some people. You could argue it's placebo. Like, you can go back and forth forever on this stuff. Because it's Star Wars, we know the Force is real, and Cassian, who's a non-believer, his shoulder's better. So it was such a good vehicle to deliver that. And I didn't see her being an oracle until the whole arc wrapped up. And like you just summarized it, it's just so well done to include the Force, but not include the Force.
Yeah, I was really happy when they introduced the idea of a Force healer because I wanted to see how this show would deal with the more fantasy elements of Jedi, the Force, and things like that. So thought they approached it in a really cool way. And again, like even like the little moments with all the characters in these three arcs means something at every moment. Like it, no interaction doesn't carry weight with it, including
Mm.
that Force healer who gets to have a moment to express wants, desires, problems with her life, that kind of thing, and just these few lines getting to say, like, I doubt myself sometimes that I have any abilities at all, you know, and then I meet
Yeah.
someone that's like, oh yeah, there's the Force moves around people, including Cassian Andor, which is something they bring up in Rogue One, and yeah, I loved that. I love that that maybe also fills in some of Bix's like where she's been in the last year. That like maybe a part of her healing was finding the Force and sort of finding something to believe and to have faith in.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like an equivalent of like giving it up to a higher purpose or something like that. It's
yeah, she got like her Star Wars AA. That's the like you
yeah.
know the god of her own understanding is the Force. Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah, it was really well handled because I'm glad it wasn't like an Order 6 Survivor. No lightsaber came out, like they didn't go that hard with it. And I also like your point just now because I didn't really put that together with, like, she was drawn to him, and they do make that clear in the show. But also, it was very similar to how Chirrut finds Jin. Like, he's kind of called to her because of her Kyber necklace. And then when Cassian leaves their U-wing to go kill Galen, Chirrut's like, he can't see, he's blind, but he knows that there's a dark aura about him because he's seeing it in the Force, even though he's not a guy to manipulate the Force. It was just a really cool way to explore the magic of the universe.
It adds dimension to the universe too, which I really like. You
Yeah.
know, I think we are lacking in a lot of Force related and Jedi related explanations to how the universe works. Like they're sort of very prevalent in the franchise, but still underdeveloped as like a culture and how the Force works and how, Force users work. So it was cool to have something just nodding, to a little bit more dimension to the mechanics behind the Force in this show, which I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting. And it was like, I was like, but I love
No,
it. Like,
in Andor of all things to explore the Force in another dimension. Yeah.
yeah, so great.